Hi, this is Jamila. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for everybody that watched the videos that I posted about my trip to Nigeria, the ones I've posted so far. I thought I'd do a short video, or a longer video rather, to explain more about my trip and to give you my take on how things went and what I was feeling during the trip. So first of all, the trip to Nigeria was my first international trip. I've never been out of the United States besides to Canada. I live in Washington, so Canada's just like a couple hours drive from here. And I just recently went there for the first time, maybe 2 years ago. So yeah, I've never been out of the country, so it was a big deal to make my first trip abroad to Africa. I went alone, so to speak. I went with a friend who is Igbo, who is from a village that's close to my ancestral village that I learned. So, but she was the only person that I was going with. No one from my family came with me for this trip. So that made it more anxious. I'm a mother of 9, 7 children born to me and 2 extra bonus kids. So I am mostly at home or running my business, and that's it. And a wife, so I went alone, and that was a big deal. I've never flown that far or planned to be away from my house, my family, that long. That was a long period of time. It was planned for 2 weeks. So I flew out. I was so nervous with my husband. He took me to the airport, and he was nervous, I could tell. And, he was going to be left at home with all the kids. So, I guess that might have been, part of his nervousness. But I just left out. My friend and I were on different flights. She was going through, I believe, Washington, D.C., I think. And I was flying straight from here to Germany. I felt that since it was my first international flights, the less stops that I had to make, the better it would be, for me. So I flew later in the day. She flew in the morning. I flew over to Germany. And it was an interesting flight. I didn't sleep the entire first leg of the flight. I didn't sleep the first or the second leg. So mind you, I've been up. I couldn't sleep the night before. So I had been awake that entire time. I think I watched a movie. I paid for the Wi-Fi, so I was, surfing the net. I just stayed up, and I was just mostly anxious about how I would feel, what I would see. When I got to Germany, to Frankfurt, which was where my connecting flight was, that's when we got together, me and my friend. I saw her. She had been there before I got there. And so her and I just kind of got ready for the next flight. And it was a lot of people like me on the second flight. First flight, it was completely Caucasian. Second flight, it was mostly like almost 100%, Africans. So I was like, wow, that was my first bit of excitement. Like, okay, this is going to be interesting. So, and I flew economy there because, I didn't know what to expect. I did not enjoy economy. And Lusana, I think that's what it's called. I did not enjoy it. It was okay. They fed us 3 times on the long flight. And then for the short flight, we ate again. So I did not enjoy it. It was okay. So when I stayed up for the second leg as well, I wanted to see, when we got across the Mediterranean, I think that was, into Africa. And I was so, just mesmerized. I know we were so high in the air, but there were times when the clouds clear and I could see just land, like red clay or green. It was just beautiful. and I was super excited to land, you know. And when we got there, I was shocked that we were getting off the plane, like not into a terminal, but onto the outside. And I was just like, whoa, you know, like this is new. I kind of felt like Obama, you know, President Obama getting off the plane and waving around to everyone. But when I got there, that was the first thing. It was kind of cool, like, whoa, this is interesting. But you know, we went straight to baggage claim, and that was another experience in baggage claim, waiting for our bags to come around, and the lights went off like twice. Like the power went out 2 times just waiting for the baggage claim. But I had already expected that. I didn't expect it at the airport, but I had done my research, and I've seen enough YouTube videos to know that, you know, electricity is an issue in Africa. So you know, it wasn't a big deal. Eventually it came back on. Sometimes it was only after like a few seconds or a few minutes. So I think our biggest problem at the airport was finding a cart to push, you know, to push our things in. That was the biggest thing, because they all got taken immediately when everybody got inside. But needless to say, we did find one, and we were able to go through customs, which was, it was an experience. So I was with my friend, and apparently they kind of harassed her a little bit, like, but it was all in Igbo, so I didn't know what, you know, they were saying, but it was about money. So yeah, so she was telling them in Igbo that I was also Igbo, and that we were going, you know, home, you know, for a visit. And then I don't know what else they were talking about. All I know is at the end of the conversation, they didn't search our bags, and she handed them, you know, money, like American dollars, and they let us go. So I don't know if that would have happened, you know, if I would have went by myself or not. But she did it, and I wasn't too shocked, like I said, because I can watch videos and I've seen that that's how things work. So, you know, we get out there. I was a little bit concerned about finding, you know, a phone card, or, you know, I didn't know what we were gonna do in Abuja, but for phone. But my phone worked. I have Verizon service, and I had already set up for international travel with it. So it worked like a charm. You know, it worked just fine. Matter of fact, my friend had to use my phone in order to call her family, you know, to see about our ride situation. Well, they didn't come pick us up. So we had to get a ride to her brother's place, which was like phase 1 or something like that, from the airport. So, or phase 2, I don't remember. But so we went out, we pushed our bags out to the front, and there was a bunch of cars lined up, and she was like, we're gonna get a ride. And I was like, you want me to call an Uber? She was like, no, we don't need an Uber. One of these guys are gonna give us a ride. And I was like, okay. You know, this is my first time in a strange country, so I wasn't gonna argue with her. This is her country, she knows what to do. So while she was negotiating a ride with the people, with the fellas that were out there with their cars, I was just looking around at how beautiful Africa was. I was looking at how green it was. Just, it was so green, and it was beautiful. Like, in that moment, I just thought, this is really nice. It seemed very humid. It almost seemed like I could see the humidity. That's how humid it was. It was like a fog or something. It wasn't thick, but it was like humid, and I could see it. But I don't know, maybe I'm imagining. I think it was, because it's not like that in Washington where I live. It's not, you know, it's not humid at all, and it's not like foggy-ish. But anyway, it's hard to explain. The air was so different. It was, I can't even explain. It was like a sweet, different air, and I can't really even put it into words. I want to, but it was definitely different. It wasn't the same. Like, even if I go from, you know, Washington to Louisiana, or Washington to LA, like, the air is the same. But, you know, there it was just different, and it wasn't a bad different. It was just different. So anyway, she negotiated with a driver after much debate. It seemed like the haggling was very, very difficult. She wanted to pay one thing, he wanted another. They both walked away from the deal. They came back to the deal, but eventually we put our luggage in, and we had a lot of luggage. She had brought a lot of things for her family, and I had brought an extra suitcase because I knew I would shop while I was there. So anyway, he brought us to the place where her brother lived, and the traffic was outrageous. Just like getting to the neighborhood, I thought I was gonna die like 3 times, like at least. The people drive so close to the car, like it's like, oh my gosh, are they gonna hit the car? Is this gonna be an accident? I don't want to die when I just got here, So I was concerned for my safety, but the driver, he navigated, pretty well. He didn't hit anybody. No one hit him, even though there's several close, like they just get really close to the car. Anyway, we got to the roundabout, which was to the estate, and it was traffic because everybody was going home. It was time for people to be, I guess, getting off work. And there was people that were walking through the traffic selling stuff. And I was just like, my eyes were just open, like, what? They were selling food, toothbrushes, bathroom slippers, you name it. And I was shocked that they were in the middle of the street doing it. Yes, but I've seen things like this in New Orleans. I was raised there, and I know that, we would be at a park, at a red light, and somebody would come and clean your windows. So that's what it reminded me of, being there. Just people coming up to the car. My friend bought some food, to which she offered me, but I didn't know what it was, and I'm a very picky eater. It has nothing to do with not wanting to eat, African food or anything like that. It's just I'm a picky eater, and I have a weak stomach. So my doctor had already given me pills for if my stomach was acting up or anything like that during my trip, and I just got there, so I didn't want to risk it. So I didn't eat the snacks, but she did, and we got to the place, and actually the driver let us out, or he was gonna let us out at the front, but because we didn't know where he lived within the estate. Luckily, there was a kata. Oh my God, I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I'm sorry, because I saw that word today and now it's confusing me. So anyway, we saw a motorcycle guy, and there was a bunch of them, and they took us to right to the door. So we followed them. They took us to the door, and then they left. And so, and we paid him, and then he left. We paid him and the driver. So then we got to the house, her family's home, and I was just like, I was in shock. It was dark, so I couldn't really see much, but it was nice. Like it was a nice house, and her family was really nice and inviting, and they had a room for me, and I had a room for my friend, and I had my own bathroom within my room, and it was great. They fed us as soon as we got there. I've eaten Nigerian food before, because I've been part of in Washington, let's just say. I'll do another video on that, but in Washington I've been privileged to eat Nigerian food. So they had bitter leaf soup and fufu, and that was good because I love bitter leaf soup and fufu, so it was the perfect meal for me. And they had like tea and stuff, but I didn't really want the tea. Like I said, my stomach, I want to make sure I was good. I don't want to mess up on the first day. And so anyway, that was a reason why I didn't stay, because we were supposed to stay there for a few days. Maybe 3 or 4 days. We were supposed to stay at least 3 days. We were supposed to stay in Abuja before going to Enugu, to the village, from there to the village. But I ended up not staying at her family's house after the first day. And the only reason was because of the plumbing. So I am not Missy Prissy. I know what it's like to not have water. I've not had water myself many times. Back in my youth when I was starting out, I had 5 kids, single mother. I understand. I know how to bathe without water. I know how to do many things without water. But because I was in a strange place and I have stomach issues, and I was told by watching many YouTube videos that I would have stomach issues, I didn't want to risk it in these people's lovely home. So I felt that it would be better for me to stay at the Sheraton for the rest of our time in Abuja. And of course, they took it as, oh, she can't hack Africa. She can't hack Nigeria. How is she going to make it in the village? So they even said to me, you know, well, if you can't make it here, you know, you're not going to be able to make it in the village. And that really made me nervous about it. And I even thought maybe I should just go home. You know, maybe I should leave. But mind you, so I checked into the Sheraton the next day. And my friend came with me. So I got a suite for both of us. And then we did shopping. Oh my gosh, we went to the Wusa market. We went to another market. That was to get the phones. And I can't remember the name of that place. But in my other video, there's pictures of it. It starts with a T, I think. But getting a phone was just, it was outrageous. There was like 3 different people we needed to talk to get the phone. We'd buy the phones. That's one. Then we had to get the SIM cards. That was a whole nother person. And then the third person was to activate the phones for us. So it was crazy. It was crazy. We were there all day just trying to get the phones on and activated. It was nuts. But then we had lunch there, and that was our day. We went back to the hotel, and you know, we went to sleep. We were exhausted. And then the next day from the hotel, we went to the Wusa market and we bought stuff. I didn't have any money, guys. I didn't have any money. And it's my fault. I blame myself, because in my simple little mind, I was thinking I could use my debit card and get money back, you know, from the machine. But when I went to try to use my debit card, it wasn't working. So I had to borrow money from my friend, and my husband was going to send me money, Western Union. So I had to wait for that and then borrow money from her. I borrowed somewhere around 400 American dollars because I love shopping. You don't have to tell me twice about it. Just take me to where the stuff is and I will shop, you know. But I'm not good at negotiating in markets. I got better as time went on watching my friend, but I'm better at negotiating with other things. Like when we got to the Sheraton, they wanted to charge me an outrageous amount of money for a suite. And I was telling this girl, like, no, like I know how much this suite costs. You know, like you cannot tell me, you know, that it's twice as much as it is online if I'm standing in front of you. That's crazy. So she went in the back and got somebody. They came out. I mean, we did this for about 45 minutes before I was like, you know what? I'm going to order it on my online. If she didn't know I had access to the internet from my phone, thank you, Verizon. So I just went on my phone while she was in the back talking to whoever, her manager, for the 4th time and paid for the rooms. And then when she came back out, it was like, yep. So yeah, I need my room now. I already paid the correct price. So yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. That's the only time I negotiated, like really was seriously like getting angry negotiating. But at the market, you know, I just let my friend do all the negotiating. I told her what I wanted and then she did all the talking. Sometimes I thought she was being unreasonable. Like, come on, you lowered it, you know, by half. That's good. Let's just get it and go. But you know, she's the expert. You know, I'm just with her. So you know, we bought a bunch of stuff, and the other things we did in Nigeria or in Abuja is I wanted to see this lady's boutique, because before I had got there, I did some research and I had found a seamstress there, and I liked her clothes that she was posting, and I wanted her to make me some clothes. So we went there, and I did use Uber, because we haggled for rides. And we did that for like the first day or two. And then I was like, you know what? I could just use the Uber app, which was way better than what she was doing, because, you know, she's going out there. We're walking to the curb, trying to flag people down and whatnot. And my Uber app, they would just, come, and they would deduct it from my debit card, which means we didn't even need to use our cash. So anyhow, that's what we did, like, for the remaining time in Abuja. Unfortunately, it did not work in Enugu. But while we were in Abuja, it worked. So we did that. I went to the lady's boutique, and she made me like three outfits, 2 or 3 outfits I bought from her. But I would pick them up when I came back to Abuja before I left to go back to the States. So I just got fitted and told her what I wanted at that point and paid. And then we also did some charity work. We went to an orphanage in Abuja and we donated there. And we also met with some displaced people, and we gave them some money too while we were there, which was cool and exciting, especially the orphanage. I love children. I have a lot of children, and it just breaks my heart, that the children don't have a family. Coming from my background, which I wouldn't even go into in this video, I would just say that I value children, I value family, and it touched my heart to see them. They were so sweet. So we did do that, and on the day we did that, it was pouring down rain like cats and dogs. I never seen no rain like this. Like, in Louisiana it does rain pretty good, but this was like 10 times that. It was like tsunami. It was a lot. Like, and the ground under us was just like floating away. It was just like, everything was wet. But I had already planned for this. I bought 2 pair of boots, rain boots with me, 2 raincoats. So I was ready for it. So I had on my galoshes, and I was ready for this rain. But my friend had on sandals, and it was not good for her. So that day, after we went to the orphanage and the market, we went back to the hotel and dried off, and then we went back out again because this is a trip, this is a vacation. So we actually went to this other mall because I kept insisting on a mall, and so because I was like, it's indoor, we can shop. Biggest mistake. We went to this indoor mall. And if you see my pictures, you know which one it is. I am not good with names. Let me just say that. We went to this indoor mall in Abuja, and I was mad because everything was so expensive. And I was like, what the heck? I don't like this place. I want to go back to Wilson Market. But I was already there. So, I bought this little toy car from my friend's nephew. And he was a sweet little boy. He reminded me of my twins that were at home. So anyway, I was really feeling homesick after that. I felt like I had seen enough. I wasn't really super impressed. Like, it was cool, but I miss my kids. I miss my husband. Every day I call from the hotel, I call my kids, or they would call me. They would try to FaceTime me, and they were crying. And, that weighs on my heart. I have 2 5-year-olds. And so, that really made me sad, and I was thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe I won't last in the village. The devil started talking to me. He started working on my spirit. He was like, you shouldn't go to the village. You should go home. It's going to be bad. You're going to hate it. And you're going to be stuck there a week, and I'm listening to the devil tell me all this stuff. And I'm like, maybe you are right. Maybe I should leave. So I actually called and got my ticket changed, or tried to get my ticket changed. I didn't change my ticket at that point. But then I talked to my husband, and he calmed me down. And he was like, do not come home right now. He was like, you came there for a specific purpose, and that is to go to your ancestral home. And he said, do not ruin your trip. Do not ruin your experience, because you will regret it. And I was like, you're right. You're right. And when I say I wasn't impressed, I was impressed. I loved being in Abuja. But I was just homesick. Like, I loved it, and it was great, but I just wanted my family. I wish that they were here with me, were there with me. So no, it's not that I was not impressed. That was a bad term to use, but I was super homesick. But I started to adjust. I was eating puff puffs every morning at the Sheraton. Oh my gosh, so delicious. Whoever thought of puff puffs, thank you. It's good. I haven't made it here yet, but I want to. It's on my list of things to do. I might do it during the holidays, but I had it every morning and it literally filled me up. And let me just say, I didn't get sick one time in Abuja, not one time. And I ate every day. I ate soup mostly, different kinds of soup. I ate fish, in the morning for breakfast. It shocked me that, for breakfast, there was nothing sweet to eat. It was just food, it's like fish, rice, like, so I was like, this is different. And I got off coffee real quick because, usually I drink coffee every morning. So I went looking for it. And I actually dropped my coffee. Can you believe that? I bought the coffee from the Sheridan and I did not get 2 steps. I was raising it to my mouth, okay? And it fell all over my clothes. I kid you not. Coffee everywhere. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. That's never happened to me. So I bought another coffee. And so this time I was careful where I stepped and I didn't drink it. And we got in an Uber. And when we got to the boutique and I got out of the Uber, I went to drink the coffee. The coffee spilled all over me again. A second time. This coffee wasted all over me again. I said, you know what? I think that God is trying to tell me something. I don't need coffee. And I was correct. Because what happened was the day before I didn't have coffee because I was traveling. I don't know what happened. I didn't have it. And then I'd had a headache. I'd had a bad headache that day. And so this was the next day. I was trying to avoid having another headache. But because I'd had that first headache, I was already good. If I just don't drink coffee again, for the rest of the trip, then I wouldn't have to worry about the caffeine headache. And that was correct. I didn't have any more headaches that day or that trip. No headaches, no coffee. I forgot about the whole coffee thing. I didn't even want to have any. And I didn't even have the urge to have any, which was funny. But yeah, so no sugary breakfasts and no coffee. So I was already feeling like this is cool. I like it. So like I said, that next morning I woke up, we were leaving for Enugu, and that was that. Like there was going to be no more second guessing. We were going to the village. And I told them, no, I'm going to the village. That's what I came for. And I can do this. So they were like, okay. So me and her we flew Air Peace. And that was a great experience. That was a great experience because this is why, like when we got to the airport, somebody ran up to us and they helped us with our bags. There was so many people in the airport and oh my gosh, it was so frustrating for my friend talking to the person there. They didn't have my ticket, which I had gave all the money to her brother who took care of all of that stuff. And so then we got that figured out. Then we had to go over and pay because our luggage was too big. It was a tough experience, but having that guy there to man our luggage for us while we did all that was dope. Like I paid him I gave him 2,000 naira, I think. And to me, it was like worth it because it was so stressful with all those people in there and trying to get all that big luggage around. But we made it up there, and the flight, we had to go outside again to get on the airplane. And we were sitting in the back. Oh, it was so tight. And I kept thinking to myself, why in the world didn't I spend more money to tell him to get, seats in the front, the more spacious ones for us. And that's just a side note for me for next trip. Never again. Always, if I'm going to fly Air Peace or, something like that I want to fly in the front where there's more space. Because I'm a small person, but even I was squished. But, it's a first time experience. And it was only a 45-minute flight. So really, really, why am I tripping? But we met this guy. He was sitting next to us. And he said he was a prince. I forget his name. And then he was just so talkative, and whatnot. And then when we got off the flight, my friend said, you really believe he was a prince? He is no prince. She's like, why would a prince be sitting, in the back? And she was like, she showed me this guy who was actually royalty at the airport, and he was well decorated and he looked like he was royalty, and he didn't sit anywhere near us. So she was like, that was royalty. This guy is a pretender. And I was just laughing oh my gosh, because we had talked the whole trip, the whole plane ride. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But anyway, this video is already too long, so clearly I'm gonna have to do a part 2 for when I got to Igboland. And that is what's up. That's what this whole trip was about. So I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on part 1, and I will definitely do part 2 and get that posted right away. Hopefully YouTube will let me post it with all these minutes, but we'll see. All right, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and hit the notification.